like a villain, all black from my head to my toes, down to my drawers, mic in my hand, got it wrapped in my paws, gold chain swing, get a round of applause, walking like a villain, all black from my head to my toes, down to my drawers, mic in my hand, got it wrapped in my paws, gold chain swinging, get a round of applause. Put your hands together, and if you don't, I'm gonna shove this down your throat. Choke, choke, cough a lung up, breathing all the smoke, smoke. I said, whoa, whoa. I demand that attention from this whole row. Rap word for word, they like, oh no. I played voided rooms. I'd rather play a packed house and enjoy the booze instead of hearing only crickets for the whole show. So I walk in like a villain, all black from my head to my toes, down to my drawers, mic in my hand, got it wrapped in my paws, gold chain swing, get a round of applause. Walking like a villain, all black from my head to my toes, down to my drawers, mic in my hand, got it wrapped in my paws, gold chain swinging, get a round of applause.
Welcome back. Oh, yeah. Guess what? It's Sunday. Sunday's a beautiful day because that's how we start the one more round fight week. I'm the host of this here channel. My name's Gav. I do this shit every single day of the week. I give you guys MMA and boxing tips, picks, parlays, tricks, you know. All that shit. Now I'm back again because we had a big weekend, gang. I mean, one fight nights. We ain't going over that, but should be talked about. Wing C got knocked out. We should talk about it. PFL Madrid, UFC London, Carlos Adames, Austin Williams, Michael Conlan, Kevin Walsh with a retirement. I mean, gentlemen, as always, it's a fat old slate that we got here. So without further ado, if you like the content that we're doing here, if you appreciate everything that we're providing on this here channel, please don't hesitate to scan the QR code right there. Guess what? That'll subscribe you to the YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, that'll make you part of the family if you just go ahead and subscribe right there. Click your camera, scan that QR code, click that link, hit subscribe. Also, like the video below. If you're liking the content that we're putting out today, come on, man. Give it up. Stop being stingy with it. Okay, can you go ahead and give us that like? Give it up now. It's free. To give it away is free. To get one is free. Go ahead and give that like up, all right? And don't forget to follow on social. We give out parlays on one more round fights. We gave one for each card, both PFL and UFC. The low risks cashed this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they cashed. Also, CP units cashed this week for one more round fights. So if you've been tailing along, if you've been taking some of these bets, I know you're up. Oh, I know you're up. I gave you some dogs. I gave you some picks. I gave you some wild lines, some crazy big odds method of victory picks. I mean, and you're still not liking, and you're still not subscribing, and you're still not sharing with a friend, and you're still not following on social. Shame on you. You're a specific piece of shit. You know that? I want you to know that. Look me in my eyes. You're a piece of shit for not giving up that like, that sub, that follow. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? The second you subscribe to one of these channels here, your life changes for the better. I'm telling you. Ask one of the subs. Ask one of the members. I've been trying to hand you guys free money for weeks and years now at this point, and you just won't take it. So you know what? If you're not part of the family, fuck you. You know, we don't need you over here to be honest. We're cozy and happy over here. So go ahead and keep losing because we're winning over here on One More Round Fights. This is the last time I'm gonna try to get you guys to take part of it. It is what it is. If you're smart enough to take part, God bless you. You're gonna have a great life from here on out. If you're one of those dumbasses, I don't think there's anything we can do for you. You're destined to be stupid. Okay? You're just destined to be stupid. If you have some wins and you won big on some bets that we gave out, please don't hesitate to send those over to onemoreroundfights@gmail.com. I want to show you off like one of my French whores. My last name's Pierre. Come on, baby. Come on. And shout out to our sponsor, W.GG. Use promo code One More Round for 10% off. Use promo code One More Round for 10 percentiles off his. Okay? Who's in the chat? Cosmo Kramer's in the chat, one of our smartest members, one of our members that actually has some merch coming his way at the end of the day. Today it goes out, Cosmo. I got you, big dog. Meat Rocket says, damn it. And then he goes, Cosmo Alexander. Meat Rocket loves to use that one. Oh, shit, I don't have the chat up. And then Gaff, you remind me a lot of Wing C. Okay. I mean, I don't know how to take that. I'm not mad at it. I like Wing C. I'm a fan of Wing C. I'm just not seeing the parallels. I mean, I do like anime. I do live in my own world. I march to the beat of my own drum. All right, I see the parallels. I see it. Morning Wombat in this piece. He says, what's up? What's up, big dog? How you feeling? It's Sunday. I woke up late. It is what it is. We do the show late. It still happens on Sunday. Now our people on the East Coast get to wake up and see something instead of waking up hungover. They're probably waking up right now like, oh shit, Gaff's live. What the hell? People in Europe are probably like, oh wow, nice little night showing. We got Gaff over here, a little 8 o'clock show for Gaff. You know, I'm out here. I got y'all, man. A little motion on a Sunday didn't hurt nobody. I ain't watching no basketball right now, so lost last night on Devin Booker. Devin Booker, you're a goddamn shame to basketball. I want you to know that. How the Bucks knocked you out the finals a few years ago, took away your last fucking chance to be an NBA champion, and you're gonna walk in there on a fucking Saturday night, a chance to get revenge, and you're gonna score 14 points and get a 25 PRA, brother. What the fuck was that? Hold that L and shove it up your ass. God damn. What the fuck was that? What kind of star is that? I've been hated Devin Booker, but last night was just another example of why that motherfucker sucks. Leave him on the Suns. Let his career die there. Holy fuck. What the fuck was that? Anyways, what did you think of Movsar's decision? We'll get into that, baby. We'll get into that. But I agree with it. I just don't think in the 10-point must system that's what should have happened. But I agree with who won the fight. Let's say that. Let's talk about some combat sports news, baby. I mean, not a lot to talk about, not a terrible amount, but there is some stuff to talk about. It is March 22nd, and things did happen. So first, well, let's get the tough, hard news out of the way. Right off top, Ibrahim Yazid is found guilty for murdering the ex-UFC fighter Walt Harris's stepdaughter. He won't face death penalty charges. He is not convicted on capital murder charges, which means he will not face the death penalty. He's scheduled to be sentenced on May 7th and could face life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, for those that don't know what capital murder's definition is, capital murder is the most serious form of homicide, defined as the international killing involving specific aggravating circumstances, such as murder for hire, killing a law enforcement officer, or murders committing during felonies like robbery or sexual assault. It is generally punishable by death penalty or life imprisonment without parole. So this does not qualify for capital murder charges. So Ibrahim Yazid will be found guilty of other charges, not including capital. So unfortunately, people that were hoping to see an eye for an eye type of deal here. We won't get those possibilities, but he will definitely face the high possibility of life behind bars. So some solace in that. Moving on. Max Holloway, my GOAT, blessed, just wore his shirt a couple shows ago, calls for a Conor McGregor fight next at any weight. He don't care if it's 45. He don't care if it's 55. He don't care if it's 70. He said, fuck it. Book it at 85. I don't give a fuck. Conor McGregor, when I come back, sign me up. Let's go, Max, because that's a perfect fight for me. We get a trilogy fight. Sorry, trilogy fight. What the fuck am I saying? We get the second fight, a rematch from their first fight that was at 45s early in both of their careers, you know, in which Conor McGregor won by unanimous decision, claiming he tore his ACL in the fight, which is why he was unable to finish Max. And Max obviously wants to get that one back. And I feel like it's a perfect time. We got the first fight at the beginning of the careers. We'll get the second fight at the end of the careers. Possible no chance at a trilogy. I like this. This is good matchmaking. Now, is Conor really going to come back? Am I really holding on to that? Fuck no. I'm not holding on to that. But a lot of people are saying that he's really training hard. He's coming back this year. Yada, yada, yada. Bullshit. So maybe it'll happen. And if it does happen this year, timelines do line up. I ain't mad at it. So I love that call out. It's kind of a fight that makes sense at this point in both of these gentlemen's careers. And yeah, let's make that shit happen if we can. Makes sense to me. But other fights that actually have potential of being booked. Alexander Volkanovski responds, bring it on, to the call-outs of Movsar Evloev after his win over Lerone Murphy this past weekend in UFC London. He wants to get that fight in before he gets too old. He's been waiting on this shelf undefeated for a long time to face this man. Both men should be meeting sometime this year, barring injuries. Okay, so hopefully we can see that before the year ends. Evloev, Volkanovski, I don't want to hear about anything else. I really don't. Nothing else matters. And fights that have been booked, let's talk about some fight announcements. At light heavyweight, we have Modestas Bukauskas and Rodolfo Bellato. They have agreed to fight at the upcoming UFC Vegas 117 card. That is May 16th at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. So we're ready for that. Bellato recently getting a nice TKO win over young Luke Fernandez, and Modestas Bukauskas not looking the best in his last fight, but we do have that fight booked. Another fight that was booked, Brendan Allen is taking on Edmund Shabazian. That is in works for UFC Vegas 118. That is headlined by Bilal Muhammad, Gabriel Bonfim. That is June 6th. Most likely that will be the co-main, if not the co-main. Okay, so Brendan Allen, Edmund Shabazian, UFC Vegas 118. That is June 6th. Not likely to be the headliner. Not likely. Couple of other fights that might be booked or have been booked. Michel Pereira does re-sign with the UFC. And he does book a June fight with Shara Bullet Magomedov. That's right, Shara Bullet, Michel Pereira. This will be an 85 fight. That is June 27th. Again, Shara Bullet, Michel Pereira, June 27th. Okay, and last but not least, Caio Borralho, Fighting Nerds leader. He targets a summer return against Dricus du Plessis. Obviously, this will be at middleweight. Both of these are top 5 contenders at middleweight at this point, possibly top 7, but you get where you see the door I'm knocking on. And then one of these guys is on a doorstep for a belt with a win here. So DDP gets back in the win column with a win over Caio Borralho, right back in there for a title shot. If Caio Borralho defeats DDP, that'll be 2 wins in a row at the top of the division, and that will be a possible title shot for Caio Borralho as well. So that is all the fight news. That's all the fight bookings that I have for you mofos. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's get into these comments. I had Movistar 48-46 or 47-47 at worst, but anybody who had it 48-46 Murphy, I wouldn't be mad at it. That's fair. That's fair. And with that being said, let's talk about it. Movsar Evloev defeats Lerone Murphy by decision. Guess what these scorecards were? It was 48-46, 48-46, 47-47. It should be noted that a point was taken from Movsar Evloev in round 4. So that would mean that they had a majority of these rounds for Movsar Evloev. Now, keep in mind, Movsar Evloev did not attempt to take down in rounds 1 or 2. And a majority of people thought Lerone Murphy did the better of the striking with the more damage and the more volume in those rounds. Most people had Lerone Murphy up 3 rounds to nothing, possibly 2 rounds to 1 after 3. And then round 4, Movsar Evloev lost the point for his second groin strike of the fight in a round that he won, maintaining dominant control. So that round would have been a 9-9 round at best. And then round 10 was clearly Movsar Evloev's round. So for most people like me, I had it 47-47 at best. I had it a draw or 40. What was the score that we just had there? 48-46 Murphy, I believe. But this fight ended up being 48-46 Evloev. Interestingly enough, the scorecards should have reflected a Lerone Murphy win, but I agree with the decision that Movsar Evloev was the rightful winner of this fight because he did get a slow start, but in the end, those last 3 rounds, with the dominance, I gave all of those to Evloev, and the story of the fight was Evloev because even though Murphy won the first couple rounds with his striking, all that damage accumulated and all that control from Movsar Evloev, it made me feel like Movsar Evloev won the fight. So I absolutely believe that Movsar Evloev deserved to win the fight. I was a little bit surprised at the scorecards, but the right guy did win the fight. And at worst, I believe that this fight was a draw. So with that being said, who fights who after this fight? Now, with a boring decision, which we were getting in the first couple of rounds, it would have been neither of these guys get a title shot, and Gene Silva would have fought Alexander Volkanovski. But with what I saw out of Movsar Evloev from rounds 3 on, with how dominant he looked and how he matched Lerone Murphy on the feet with striking throughout the entirety of the fight, Movsar Evloev deserves the next title shot against Alexander Volkanovski, and that needs to happen before the end of 2026. There is no other fight. Any other fight that you had in your mind at 45 for the belt against Alexander Volkanovski, please go ahead and take the whiteboard eraser or the blackboard eraser and take that off your mind. That's gone now. It's Movsar Evloev, undefeated. A chance for Alexander Volkanovski to take an O. Let's do it. That is next. That is next. He deserves it. No other name should be mentioned. I don't care what you have to say. It's Movsar Evloev and Alexander Volkanovski. And as for Lerone Murphy, getting his first loss of his career, failing the grappling test for the second time. His first test was Zabira Tukhugov in Abu Dhabi, which ended in a draw. This one almost ended in a draw as well, but he ends up on the losing side of this one. I believe he and Gene Silva should fight next. Gene Silva gets slighted. I don't think he should have been in talks for a title shot anyways, but with that win over Arnold Allen, him versus Lerone Murphy, a second Englishman to get a win off of, that just wrote itself, man. Writes itself. Gene Silva, Lerone Murphy. And if we don't do that, if we have other plans for Gene Silva, because, a possible rematch with Diego Lopez is on the table, even though I think Diego just got another fight booked. What about Yair? Yair hasn't fought in a year. Yair Rodriguez has not fought in over a year. Who is booked to fight him? That would be a great matchup. A striker's dream right there. Lerone Murphy, Yair Rodriguez. I would love to see that matchup. And Lerone Murphy might have to go to his B game there. We might see Lerone Murphy grapple a little bit in that one. So that's a solid matchup too. More to come on Matchmaker Monday, but those are the only names I see for both of those guys. So yeah, shout out to Movsar Evloev getting a huge win over Lerone Murphy. But UFC London had a bunch of other fights we got to talk about. It is what it is. Rounds 1 and 3 were basically coin flips. I agree with that, Cosmo. I agree with that. It was close, round 1. Round 3 was close as well. Evloev did do a lot of work at the end of the round, the very last 10 seconds. But Lerone was winning that round up until that point, but then started to eat a couple shots there. So I could see on damage they give that round 3 to Evloev, but I did have it for Murphy, you know. But yes, UFC London, like I said, Evloev wins by majority decision, 48-46, 48-46, 47-47. Luke Riley defeats Michael Aswell via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Luke Riley came forward. Fantastic young prospect, it looks like. Came forward the entire time, won big, heavy shots. Michael Aswell tried to keep his volume on him, tried to have some pace for him. Luke Riley's still very young, both guys 25 and 26. So durability was there, volume was there, power was there for Luke Riley. And Luke Riley wins unanimously. Michael Venom Page defeats Sam Patterson via unanimous decision in a forgetful fight, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Michael Venom Page went in there and did his job. He had to go in there and fight a friend. It's not fun to fight your friends, ever. We've seen it happen time and time again in the UFC. I don't know why these fights get booked, but when they do happen, more often than not, they are boring as fuck. So I don't know why they keep happening. But Sam Patterson, Michael Venom Page, training partners, very familiar with each other in the UK, had to get this one off. They went in there, swung those mitts. Michael Venom Page got the better of Sam Patterson. Sam Patterson unable to get to his game, unable to get Michael Venom Page down to the mat and possibly submit him. So Michael Venom Page walks away with the win. And hopefully we could get him in a high-profile matchup next. Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson should have never been a matchup. Me as Monday Matchmaker would have never even thought of making that. Not even a fucking single thought in my mind of making that one. That would have never even been uttered. Even their opponents would have, I don't think I would have ever matched them up. So this was weird for me. I don't know. Michael Venom Page still, I don't know. We need to give him a high-profile matchup, one that he could style on somebody in. All right? And more to come on Monday Matchmaker. I'm going to keep my cards closed on that one, as will I for Sam Patterson. Iwo Barianuski defeats Austin Lane via TKO punches. Round 1, 28 seconds. You heard that right. 28 seconds. Half of a minute. Less than half of a minute. He walked in there and took Austin Lane out. This was down at light heavyweight, I believe. And Austin Lane, I think 5 of his 6 losses by KO now. He gets KO'd often. Maybe 6 or 7 at this point. I forget. It's a lot. He gets KO'd a lot. This was always going to happen. And Iwo, now 8 of his 10 wins by KO, something like that. Yeah. This was a match made in hell. All right, for Austin Lane. Christian Leroy Duncan defeats Roman Dolidze via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Christian Leroy Duncan using his striking to absolutely put Roman Dolidze on the back foot in rounds 1 and 2, but Dolidze finally gets him down, gets to the back, controls him, gets some ground and pound off in round 3. Makes it a little more interesting, but fell behind too early. CLD gets the win. Danny Silva defeats Curtis Campbell, the Pink Panther, via TKO punches, round 2, 31 seconds. I mean, he took this young guy and showed him the ropes. Showed him the ropes, man. Danny Silva, always tough, heavy-handed, bites down on that mouthpiece. Curtis Campbell, more finesse, more grappling heavy, not willing to stand in that pocket. Danny Silva went right into that pocket and showed him what's up. Took him down easy. Referee had to step in. Shout out to Danny Silva, huge win. Shout out to Danny Silva. Mason Jones defeats Axel Sola via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Shout out to Mason Jones getting a big win. He did get dropped at one point in the fight, but he comes back and gets the dubber. So shout out to him. Nathaniel Wood defeats Losan Keita via split decision, 28-29, 29-28, 29-28. Shout out to Nathaniel Wood getting the big upset. He was a dog in this fight. So shout out to him. He gets a huge win. in his home country. A lot of people doubted him because Los Anqueta very fast, lots of knockouts. But Nathaniel Wood used to fight down at 35. Don't forget that. So he's got some speed on him too. Okay, and used his speed to counteract the game plans of Los Anqueta, especially with them low kicks. So shout out to Nathaniel Wood. Shout out to Brad One Punch Pickett. Shout out to Loner Kavanaugh. Also trains with flyweight Loner Kavanaugh. So getting some speed reps there. Everything pointed to me for Nathaniel Wood win, and I'm so glad that he was able to pull this off. I believe he's on a 4-fight win streak now, all decisions, but still, he was interesting in every single one of those. Mario Pinto defeats Felipe Franco via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. These were new school heavyweights fighting the new school heavyweight way. They weren't those fat, flabby heavyweights that we're used to seeing. They were thin, looking like some light heavyweights out there, fast, strong, mixing up their games well, but a little bit slow pace because of all that. And Mario Pinto ends up getting the win. So shout out to him. He fights out of England, but I believe he's Portuguese, something like that. Monta Controversius defeats Antonio Tricoli via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-27, 29-27. Tricoli showing his toughness, making it to the final bell, but Controversius just too much. Those heavy hands were putting a beating on Tricoli, and I'm surprised he made it to the final bell because he almost got him up out of there a couple times. Brando Pericic defeats Louis Sutherland via TKO punches, round 1 minute and 48 seconds. Sutherland tried to employ a grappling heavy game plan. Pericic just stuffs the head and swung the mitts, man, and eventually the ref had to step in. Shout out to a true heavyweight fight there. Abdul Karim El Sawadi defeats Shamrock via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Shamrock looked terrible in this performance. Karim Al Sawadi, after a 2-year layoff, I believe it was like 750 days, goes in there, gets himself a big win, looked fantastic in every single round, put a pace on his opponent in which he was smaller. He had a shorter reach. He was the much older guy, and he goes in there and gets himself a big win. So shout out to Al Sawadi. And then Chanel Dyer comes in and makes herself a name off of Ravina Oliveira. Both of these ladies, a lot of KOs on their records, but Chanel Dyer, the English woman, goes in there and gets a head kick TKO win, finishes it off with punches up against the fence. Round 2, 1 minute and 17 seconds. The ref did her no favors. But Chanel Dyer gets herself a big win. And you know why this was a big win for this young lady? Because her contract can't be that large, can it? First fight in the UFC, coming off a Contender Series win. Guess what this young lady does? She goes in there and gets herself a performance of the night bonus. Probably triples her salary, gets herself $100,000 bonus on the night. Shout out to Chanel Dyer coming over from the PFL. Big win. We already had our eye on you. We put a bunch of more eyes on you. You got yourself a little fan club now, Chanel Dyer. Let's go. Let's go. Heavy freaking hands. You love to see it, girl. You love to see it. Also getting performance of the night bonuses, Iwo Baryanuski and Mason Jones and Axel Sola for their fight of the night. Okay, so $100,000 for all 4 of those people there. Additional $25,000 goes to Brando Pericic for his TKO of Louis Sutherland and Danny Silva for his TKO of Curtis Campbell. Everybody else can suck it. All right, so that completes my coverage of UFC London. All right, UFC London. All-time boring fight, says Infrared. Yeah, that Paige Patterson fight. Cosmo, I had it 48-46 Murphy, as did I, Meat Rocket. And Meat Rocket, I don't know if you're, doing what you normally do or keeping it a buck there, but yeah. The hello donks. Hello, what up, Octopus? How you feeling, bro? And then Meat Rocket says, Infrared, you must be a casual. Infrared also says, cash me outside. Cash me outside, because you were cashing parlays over here on One More Round Fights, UFC low risk parlay, CP units, who and how, PFL low risk. Like, we were cashing parlays left and right. Many green checks are coming on the channel once I hop off this stream. You already know, baby. And then I thought it ended in draw just because of the point deduction, and it was in the UK, and we're on a 10-point must system, me Rocket. So yeah, I get that. That was crazy. Sleeto in the house. He says, sup, suckers. What else, Sleeto? How you feeling on this Sunday? A little hungover? I know I am. My stomach's still doing fucking backflips, but it is what it is. And then Octopus also says, Sleeter. Infrared says, yo. All right, so there was UFC London, but we also had PFL Madrid, gang. PFL Madrid went down. We had a doubleheader Friday and Saturday. Thank you to everybody that pulled up for the PFL Madrid watch along for one more round fights. You're welcome. I know a lot of you made some money. We cashed a lot of bets. I know we didn't cash that high risker. Shout out to Fabian Edwards. He fought well, but yeah, we didn't get a win there. You know me. I'm just schmoozing it up. He did not fight well, but yeah, one leg away from cashing all our PFL bets. It would have been a magical weekend if we did. I hope somebody had the sense to cash out before that last leg or hedge with Costello Van Steenis and Gino Van Steenis like I did. That's life, man. You can't win them all. But we still had a great weekend money-wise, both on the UFC London card and the PFL Madrid card. So no complaints here. But let's get into it. Let's get into it, shall we? PFL Madrid, headlined by PFL Middleweight Championship, Costello Van Steenis defeats Fabian Edwards via KO elbows. Round 3, 1 minute and 48 seconds. This performance from Fabian Edwards was perplexing. Costello Van Steenis did exactly what we expected him to do, land heavy shots and use his grappling to his advantage. Fabian Edwards grappling heavy for this, which was confusing because the first fight was so close when he was striking heavy. And some would argue that he won the first fight. And if he employed the same game plan with a few little tweaks here, he could have been on his route to victory. But hats off to Costello Van Steenis because he uses his striking to his advantage. And because Fabian Edwards drops down to his knees, which you never do when attempting a double leg, and leaves his head on the outside leg of Costello Van Steenis, very smartly, Travis Brown elbows the shit out of him. And he gets himself a big TKO win. So big KO win for Costello Van Steenis. Knocks out Fabian Edwards, wins the rematch. He's 2-0 on Fabian Edwards, so I don't think we're going to see a rematch anytime soon between those two. And yeah, Costello is your PFL middleweight champion. Shout out to Costello Van Steenis. Shout out to Van Steenis brothers fighting out of Spain. Both of them doing well. At featherweight, AJ McKee defeats Adam Borge via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Okay. At welterweight, Franco Tanaglia defeats Yassine Najid via TKO injury. At the end of round 2, he dislocated his shoulder, possibly broke his collarbone. Tough to figure it out. Injury, he calls it off in between rounds 2 and 3. Franco Tanaglia gets the win in a fight that was very close up until that point. At strawweight, Jacinta Austin, somebody to keep an eye on. If you don't remember that name, don't worry. I'll remind you next time. Jacinta Austin defeats Bonita Van Roy via TKO punches. Round 1, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I mean, this lady had some hands on her. Recashed to plus 900 with Jacinta Austin. Shout out to her. We are keeping an eye on that strawweight. Big win there. Bonita Van Roy, more known for her grappling, was coming forward, just walked into it. Just walked into that shot. At heavyweight, Lynn Vassell takes down Jose Augusto and gets himself a TKO win by punches. Round 2, 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Shout out to Lynn Vassell reinventing himself at heavyweight, being more heavy on that grappling and having himself a nice little streak at heavyweight. So shout out to him. At bantamweight, Luciano Pajeda defeats Kevin Cordero via KO punches. Round 1, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Shout out to Luciano, much smaller than his opponent. Shorter arms, smaller. He looked smaller in there and somehow gets himself a big KO win over his opponent. Shout out to him. Wowzers. We got an eye on that bantamweight as well. At flyweight, Borja Garcia defeats Rafael Calderon via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. At lightweight, the brother of Costello Van Steenis, Gino Van Steenis, defeats Mark Ewan via KO punch. Round 1, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Both the Van Steenis brothers got a KO on this night in Spain. Madrid was lit. Shout out to Gino Van Steenis taking out another young prospect in Mark Ewan, who a lot of people had high hopes for, and he took him right out. Shout out to Gino Van Steenis. We got an eye on you as well. The Van Steenises have made a name for themselves in Madrid, and it keeps going. It keeps going. At bantamweight, Mata Giordano defeats Ernesto Chisano by unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. I believe this fight was a robbery. I think Ernesto Chisano deserved to win that fight, but they ended up giving it to the guy that it was his country, Matteo Giordano. Ernesto Chisano, the Italian, gets slighted in this and loses by unanimous decision. In a 165-pound catchweight, Claudio Pichello defeats David Moore via unanimous decision, 30-26 and 2 30-27s. And last but not least, at featherweight, Nacho Campos defeats Mathis Durgan via unanimous decision in a very fun back-and-forth fight. Shout out to both those young prospects down at featherweight. It was a 29-28 across the board. And that does it for my coverage of PFL Madrid. That does it. Shout out to Cosmo, $1.99 super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for that donation on a nice little Sunday. You love to see it. You love to see it. Those are hard to come by over here on One More Round Fights, so we appreciate you. I missed the start. Did you talk about how there was judging controversy and you thought the same thing about the CP Units fight? Too real, right? What, yo, now that we can talk about it in retrospect, we might have to do a side-by-side of CP Units and what's it called? And the actual fight, because what? Mavsar got to his grappling a lot earlier in CP Units, but kind of mirrored. Mavsar had him bloodied and bruised up by the end of the fight. It was the same thing. Lots of control time, lots of heavy on top. Like, it was wild. CP Units was highly accurate. And yes, CP Units cashed again. If you're not pulling up on Fridays for when we simulate the UFC fights, you're fucking up, dude. You're missing out on bets. You're missing out on some fun. You're missing out on opportunities to speculate what happens in these fights. You're missing out. You're just missing out. Pull up for CP Units on Fridays. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now. The fuck are you doing? All right. Fuck are you doing? Salito, you must be a casual, says Meat Rocket. How dare you? Octopus also says those elbows were pretty behind the ear, laughing my ass off. Yeah, on Fabian Edwards. Yeah, it is what it is, Octopus. But, you know, he shouldn't have been on his knees in front of another man trying to take him down with a double leg. Like, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you to go down your knees for a double leg. And if they do, they don't tell you to stay there while your opponent's just looking down at you, having you in a ghillie. They don't tell you to do that. But I'm a casual. And then hashtag Cosmosis. Cosmos says, these dudes are Dutch ancestry, always have goofy and not the prettiest style, but I get it, but get it done most of the time. RDR, DDP, Musasi, Van Steenis, to name a few. Yeah, a little bit goofy, but they seem to get it done. You're right. It's the same archetype every time. The Dutchman. Koi Frutain, what up, brother? Is PFL on Friday or Saturday this week? Both of these events will be on Saturday. So we'll probably be doing a PFL early Saturday on One More Round Fights, and then the UFC later on Main Card Minute. And if they have some overlap, which I don't think they do, because, oh no, it's PFL on the East Coast, right? Let me see. PFL Pittsburgh start time. That is 6 p.m. on March 28th. That's Saturday. Oh, no. That's Friday. Yeah, that's Saturday. Yeah. PFL Pittsburgh. And then UFC Seattle start time. Prelims start at 5. Yeah. Yeah, so they're overlapping. So I guess we can't watch them at the same time. Unfortunately, they're going head-to-head, gang. They're going head-to-head. So no PFL watch along on One More Round Fights. Or maybe we should just attack it. Maybe I should do a PFL stream. He should do a UFC stream. I don't know. That's weird. We got to figure that out. I think Saturday, unfortunately, same time as UFC. One more round. Let's go, brethren. Let's go. And then, facts, he deserved those elbows, but they could have been angled legally. Cosmo, don't worry. PFL will overtake UFC. This PFL card is way better. I know. We got some Ariane Delipsky on that motherfucker. Man, like what? Samiko Inaba? PFL takeover has begun, meaty, says Octopus. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, guys, no fighter spotlight this week. No fighter spotlight. I didn't see a good one. It was either going to be Luke Riley or like Jacinta Austin or like Chanel Dyer. And I was just like, is now the time for those? Is now the time? I feel like one more fight for each of them. And then I'd do a fighter spotlight. So, yeah, no fighter spotlights this week. Nobody wowing us either. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But maybe next week. Maybe next week. Also, we had a lot to talk about. So it is what it is. In some boxing news, Carlos Adames defeats Austin Williams via decision. I know we all had KO, unfortunately, but this ended up being a decision. Austin Williams coming in there showing his toughness. This was a unanimous decision. 118-108, 117-109, 117-109. Carlos Adames looking smaller between the two, but came in there, laid some heavy hands on him and some volume on him. Carlos Adames did exactly what we expected him to do and be the sharper, stronger, faster fighter. Austin Williams, hell of a chin on him, always tough, able to stay in the fight. But Carlos Adames absolutely picked up this win, and he is your WBC middleweight champion. Okay? Shout out to Carlos Adames getting a belt. At super welterweight, Omari Jones defeats Christian Gomez via unanimous decision. It was 80-72 across the board, 8 rounds to nothing. It is what it is. At lightweight, Corey Marksman defeats Jacob Gomez via unanimous decision, 96-94, 98-92, 98-92. It was quite easy to see. And then at heavyweight, Terramana defeats Curtis Harper via first round KO. That knockout will be joining TKO Tuesday. You could bet your sweet ass. Go ahead and watch that at heavyweight. Shout out to my boy Terra. Terra's a terror in this motherfucker. All right. Shout out to him. It was the lone highlight of that card. Carlos Adames versus Austin Williams, but it was a fun main event to end it. Carlos Adames put some hands on that man. Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And there was another boxing card of the weekend and a retirement at that. What the fuck's going on? Michael Conlan and Kevin Walsh had a little battle, a little bit of a war. It ends in split decision. It goes Kevin Walsh's way. Kevin Walsh defeats Michael Conlan via split decision, 94-96, 97-93, 96-94. Michael Conlan seems to believe that if he didn't have enough to take out Kevin Walsh in this fight, that he should be on the road to retirement. And that is exactly what he does at the end of this bout, even though it was a closely contested bout and he did lose by split decision. Michael Conlan retires at the age of 34. Respect to Michael Conlan. He's had heavy hands over his career, knocking out tons of guys. He's been in tons of wars. Shout out to Michael Conlan. Enjoy your retirement, sir. You gave us a fantastic career. Elsewhere on the card, Kieran Malloy defeats Javier Conlan via unanimous decision, 98-92, 100-90, 99-91. Niall Brown defeats Darren Johnstone via TKO, round 3, 44 seconds. A lot of these you'll see on TKO Tuesday. Cody Smith defeats Lee Gormley via TKO, round 1, 1 minute and 54 seconds. Jack Corey defeats Jacob Quinn via KO, round 2, 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Ben Marksby defeats Carlos Daniel Cordoba via retirement, round 4. Kurt Walker defeats Yahir Alexander. Kyle Smith defeats Eduardo Vera Sanchez by points 40-36. And on the post limbs, Glenn Byrne defeats Daniel Przywelik by points 60-54. And Sam Norris defeats Stephen Vincent by points 40-36. And that completes the coverage of Michael Conlan versus Kevin Walsh. All right. And that's it for boxing. You guys need to know the upcoming boxing schedule, though. So I'm going to quickly give that to you because I got you. You got to stay updated. You know, if you don't keep it on your brain at the forefront, fight slip through the mind, you're like, boxing was on this week? I didn't know that. I'm your guy. I got you. I'm going to keep you updated. March 28th, we got a doubleheader. First, we got a pay-per-view. Las Vegas, Prime Video pay-per-view. Sebastian Fundora taking on Keith Thurman. This is for Fundora's WBC junior middleweight title. Also on the card, don't forget, we have Brian Mendoza. Okay? Brian Mendoza takes on Yoenli Tellez. And then we also have Yoenli Hernandez taking on Terrell Gaucher. Okay? So a couple other fights on that card, but headlined by Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman. All right, March 28th in Manchester, England on DAZN. We have Moses Itauma taking on Jermaine Franklin Jr., two fantastic prospects at heavyweight. This will be a 10-rounder. All right, also on the card, Willie Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor, Liam Davies versus Zach Miller at featherweight. That will be on DAZN. April 4th, we have a doubleheader. We have first card in London on DAZN, Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora at heavyweight. And then April 4th in Cardiff, Wales on DAZN, we have Lauren Price taking on Stephanie Aquino. 10 rounds for Price's WBC, IBF, and WBA welterweight titles. We also have a fight on April 5th in London. We have Caroline Dubois taking on Terry Harper for Dubois' WBC women's lightweight title and Harper's WBO women's lightweight title. We have a title fight between Ellie Scotney and Mayeli Flores. At featherweight, we have a title fight between Irma Garcia and Emma Dolan, another title fight between Chantel Cameron and Michaela Kostakova. Okay. Sorry, Kataskova. Keep fucking that up. That is for the vacant WBO women's junior middleweight title. All right. So that's April 5th in London. April 11th, we have Fury versus Makhmudov on Netflix. April 17th in New York on ESPN, we have Alicia Baumgardner taking on Bomi Ray Shin. 12 rounds for Baumgardner's IBF, WBO, and WBA women's junior lightweight titles. Also, Shadeja Green taking on Lonnie Daniels. 10 rounds for Green's IBF, WBO women's super middleweight titles. All right, and April 18th in Las Vegas, Manny Pacquiao taking on Ruslan Provodnikov in a welterweight exhibition. April 18th in Liverpool, England on DAZN, Callum Smith taking on David Morrell Jr. 12 rounds for Smith's WBO interim light heavyweight title. April 25th in Paris, France, we have Lawrence Okoli and Tony Yaka. We also have undercard junior middleweight fight. April 29th in Australia on DAZN, we have our girl Sky Nicholson returning against Mariah Turner, defending her WBC women's interim junior featherweight title. Okay, and then we have the return of our boy Terra Marwana, the Terror. All right, has a bout at heavyweight on that same card, April 29th. May 2nd, we have a doubleheader, and we have one in Tokyo. Naoya Inoue taking on Junto Nakatani, 12 rounds for Inoue's undisputed junior featherweight championship. Okay, we also have Inoue on the undercard taking on Ioka, 12 rounds for Inoue's WBC bantamweight title. That's Takuma Inoue. All right, and also on May 2nd, we know about the David Benavidez Zurdo Ramirez fight. That's 12 rounds for Ramirez's WBO and WBA cruiserweight titles. May 9th in Manchester, England on DAZN, we have Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, brother of Caroline Dubois, who is also fighting earlier. May 23rd in Giza, Egypt on DAZN, we have a title fight between Alexander Usyk and Rico Verhoeven. 12 rounds for Usyk's WBC heavyweight title. May 30th in El Paso, Texas on ESPN, we have Stephanie Hahn and Holly Holm, the rematch. The last one ended in a clash of heads. We have a 10-round rematch. May 30th, El Paso, Texas, ESPN. It's for Hahn's WBA women's lightweight title. And last but not least, many have talked about it already, September 19th in Las Vegas on Netflix. We have the second match, the return of Floyd Money Mayweather. He takes on Manny Pacquiao for the second time. This will be 12 rounds. The weight class will be announced at a later date, as will the rules and rounds, but it will be a professional bout. And that is the complete boxing slate that we have on tap. You're welcome. Ain't nobody else got you like I got you. And if I got you with boxing, I got to hit you with some MMA, don't I? I need to hit you with the MMA slate as well. So coming up, guys, March 28th, Seattle, Washington, we have a bout between Israel Adesanya and Joseph Pfeiffer. UFC Fight Night 271, otherwise known as UFC Seattle. Adesanya Pfeiffer, March 28th. On the very same day, going head-to-head is PFL Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, headlined by a middleweight bout between Johnny Eblen and Brian Battle. PFL Pittsburgh and UFC Seattle, both on March 28th. April 3rd is 174. Don't forget, April 4th at the Meta Apex. Fight Night 272, otherwise known as UFC Vegas 115. That should be Renato Moicano taking on Chris Duncan. Let me write that. Moicano versus Duncan. All right. April 10th, PFL Africa 1, followed by April 11th, UFC 327 in Miami, Florida. April 11th also has PFL Chicago. We're going head-to-head again. I believe that should be earlier in the day, though. But it is Chicago, so I don't think it will be. They might be going head-to-head with UFC 327. So that is Pettis versus McKee. That is not AJ McKee. That is a different McKee. Okay, April 12th, we have Ryzen Landmark 13 in Fukuoka, Japan. April 16th, we have PFL Boston in Boston, Massachusetts. April 18th, we have UFC Fight Night Burns versus Malat, otherwise known as UFC Ottawa. That is UFC Fight Night 273 in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. April 25th, we have UFC Fight Night Brady versus Buckley, otherwise known as UFC Fight Night 274. That is at the Meta Apex. Just kidding. That was moved. I forgot that fight was moved. But we still have UFC Fight Night 274 at April 25th at the Meta Apex, but it is not Brady versus Buckley. That fight has been moved to a later event. April 29th in Tokyo, Japan, we have 175. May 3rd in Perth, Australia, we have UFC Fight Night 274. That is otherwise known as UFC Perth. May 8th, we have PFL Mania 9. We also have on the same date, PFL Brussels. They have a doubleheader for you for the PFL. So Habarora versus Benson Henderson will be that date. PFL Brussels, Belgium, May 8th. May 30th, we have UFC Macau. Okay, Macau, China. UFC Fight Night 276 in UFC Macau. June 14th, we have UFC White House. Okay, UFC Freedom 250. That is in Washington, D.C., June 14th. And June 26th, we have one Denver in Denver, Colorado. Last but not least, PFL Atlantic City, August 7th. Luke, we're going to that one, baby. PFL Atlantic City, August 7th, Atlantic City, New Jersey. And that is the full MMA slate upcoming for all major promotions. All right. Okay. Let me get back into the chat before we get into everything else, man. What's going on? PFL Takeover. I don't remember anything meaty, but it's nice to meet. ... Meet you. Oh, man. At the same damn time, I'll be watching PFL and UFC at the same damn time. I see you, Meaty. Octopus, do you remember? He says me Rocket. And then Octopus with a one pondering emoji. There was a boxing event on YouTube for the interim WBC title. I watched it. Mommy in this bitch. Mommy's 2008 says, what up, my guy? What up, Mommy? How you feeling? Hammy 242 says, hello, cats and kittens. What up, Hammy? How you doing? How you doing on this Sunday? Cosmo says, hello, Hammy. I'm a lion. Roar. Pro Box Meaty, says Hammy. And then Cosmo, hello, my good sir, says Hammy. Ignacio Bahamondes Fight Week. Let's bang. Let's go. Ignacio, training partner of Bilal Muhammad. Yes, Hammy, that's what I was watching. Pro Box, Boxeo. And then UFC Macau main card, 6 a.m. start time. And you bet we're doing a watch along for it. I hope I'm not working that day. You know, Bahamondes is elite. He's definitely a future champion. This is Meat Rocket. All right, guys, before we get up out of here, we have 4 events on the week that we got to fucking make picks for. And ain't nobody got you with picks like I got you. All right, so let's start with PFL Pittsburgh. Let me give you some names to take home with you to ponder. What if Brian Battle walked in there and beat Johnny Eblen? What if that last performance was the last, shield of invincibility by Johnny Eblen, and it's down now? He's been getting beat up by Sean Strickland for years. He finally loses his belt, getting subbed by Costello Van Steenis, and then this young, hungry Brian Battle that's been itching to get back into a major promotion and fighting MMA comes in there and starches him. What if that happens? I'm just saying, keep an eye on Brian Battle lines. Keep an eye on some Brian Battle lines. That's all I'm telling you. Dalton Rasta has Dakota behind him, okay? He's had Dakota to help him lick his wounds. All right? He's coming in here and beating Impa. I have a lot of confidence in Dalton Rasta in this bout, especially with how many times I've seen Impa just on his back and put up against the fence. Sumiko Inaba to take out Ariane Lipski de Silva to something. Yeah, let's go with Sumiko Inaba. I got faith in her. If you could stand in there with Dakota for 5 rounds and take a fucking beating, girl, you can go in there and dish one to somebody else. All right? I can see that. Alexi Pergandi, my boy, has been training, sharpening his iron with some of the best. He former training partner or possible still training partner of Ian Machado Gary. Okay. Alexi Pergandi, I have high hopes for this man, and I expect him to finally give us a finish. I feel like we got a lot of decisions out of this man. Let's get a finish. All right, and my last pick, I've been on this guy. I believe he still fights out of Goat Shed, Lazaro Darren. Shout out to my guy, Lazaro Darren. We're always backing my guy, Lazaro Darren, so we're going with him again. Lazaro Darren to get a win on PFL Pittsburgh. All right, and those are my picks for PFL Pittsburgh. But don't worry, don't worry your pretty little head. I got some picks on UFC Seattle as well. Okay, don't forget, UFC Seattle's happening. Same time. So we might have to make a nice little parlay, nice little clubber and subber parlay involving both cards, depending on when those lines drop. They drop pretty fucking dog shit on the PFL. But UFC Seattle, I like Macy Barber to get the win over an aging Alexa Grasso. Young, hungry Macy Barber just got back in the win column. I expect her to continue her momentum. Okay, the king of unders, Terrence T-Rex McKinney. I'm rocking with my boy. I'm rocking with my boy, Terrence T-Rex McKinney, okay? Don't fuck with me. I'm rocking with T-Rex, all right? Terrence McKinney, if I'm not rocking with him, I'm rocking with his under. I'm rocking with his under, all right? Chase Hooper, we got to rock with that curly-headed man. We just have to. Curly is in. Curly is up. Jack Harlow, Monica. You know what I mean? Jack Harlow, let's get it. I hate that album, though. I'm not a fan of Jack Harlow. But yeah, Navajo Sterling, definitely getting a win. I believe Navajo Sterling is getting a win at UFC Seattle. I have high hopes for him, fighting on the same card as his countryman, Israel Adesanya. All right, so Navajo Sterling to get a win. Somebody's getting a win out that camp, and if it ain't going to be Izzy, it's going to be Navajo. All right, and our boy Adrian Yanez. I know Ricky Simone with the grappling. I know Adrian Yanez off his back. I know all this stuff. I know. I just got to rock with my boy and his Dr. Pepper, man. I got to rock with my boy, the king of Dr. Pepper, Adrian Yanez. I got to. I'm rocking with Adrian. That's my pick for UFC Seattle. All right. And then we have 2 boxing cards over the weekend. All right. We have Sebastian Fundora taking on Keith Thurman. Surprisingly so, even with how many knockouts these guys have on their records, I'm not going with a lot of knockouts this week, guys. I'm seeing a lot of decisions in the boxing realm, just like we got with Adamas this weekend. I'm seeing a lot of decisions in the boxing realm. Fundora, 23 wins, 14 KOs. His only loss was a KO, but I still see this fight going the distance. Okay, Thurman, 31 wins, 23 of them by KO. His lone loss was a decision. 4 of his last 5 wins were by decision. A Thurman decision is on the table, but I see this being a Fundora decision. Okay, so Fundora is my pick for the weekend. Fundora decision. I see a Mendoza decision. His opponent, 11 wins, 8 by KO. Mendoza, 22 wins and 16 by KO. He only has decision losses on his record. I believe there's 4 of them. All right. And he's coming off a KO win in July. Before that, he lost 2 in a row by decision. I think he's going to get a decision win here. Mendoza, I believe this young guy's going to have enough. This Yoani Tellez is going to have enough to stay in there. And it's going to be a Mendoza decision. He's going to use his veteran savvy to get a win. And then I think the TKO that happens is Hernandez. I think Yoenli Hernandez TKOs Terrell Gaucher for the first time in his career. Yoenli, 9 wins, 8 by KO. Almost all of his wins by KO. He's an undefeated Cuban. Okay, and Terrell Gaucher, 24 wins, only 12 by KO. He's never been KO, though. I think he has 4 decision losses. The problem is Hernandez is 3 inches taller and longer. He's faster and stronger. Terrell Gaucher's 38 and almost got knocked out in his last fight. I got to go with Hernandez TKO. All right. So keep that fight in mind on the Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman boxing bout. That is a PBC pay-per-view on Prime. Okay. And the last picks I got for you mofos, Moses Itauma and Jermaine Franklin Jr. We got a heavyweight headliner. All right. Again, like I just said, I don't see a KO happening. I just don't. Moses Itauma, keep in mind these facts, though. A KO is possible because his last 9 bouts, he's gotten a knockout in rounds 1 or 2. All right. I just don't think it happens with this guy. This is a much different opponent. 13 wins, 11 by KO, and he's still undefeated. He has 9 knockouts in a row, all of them in rounds 1 or 2. Okay. He's on a 9-fight knockout streak. But Franklin, 24 wins, 15 by KO. All of his losses are by decision, though. Franklin has never even been knocked down. These are good heavyweights. I think this will go the distance. Okay. That goes the distance. And then we have Ezra Taylor and Hutchinson. Hutchinson, 19 wins, 14 by KO. He's lost by knockout and by decision once. He's last KO'd in 2021. He's won 5 of his last 6 by TKO. Taylor has 13 wins and 9 by KO. He's also undefeated. I just don't see a knockout for some reason. I could see this being a Taylor decision in the end. So Ezra Taylor to stay undefeated. I like that. Taylor decision. And then Davies. Liam Davies is taking on, I forget who's, Zach Miller. Davies, 17 wins, 8 by KO. His lone loss was a decision. 3 of his last 4 wins are by KO. Zach Miller, 17 wins, only 3 KO wins. I'm taking this fight to go the distance. I think it's a Davies decision. All right. So, yeah, those are my picks on Moses Itauma and Jermaine Franklin Jr. And that's it. That's it for this show, gang. I hope you guys enjoyed the show on this Sunday. Appreciate everybody that pulled up to the chat. Don't forget to tune in to the rest of the shows this week, people. Monday, Matchmaker. Tomorrow, Matchmaker Monday. We have TKO Tuesday. Okay. We have Hump Day on Wednesday. New content to come on Thursday. We have CP Units on Friday. And then we have our watch alongs on Saturday. We have a full slate for you guys to watch throughout the week. You guys should be taking advantage of this, sharing this with your friends, liking on socials, liking the video below, subscribing to the channel, all the things, guys. Continue to show love, please. Let's grow this channel. If you don't grow it, it dies. If you don't use it, you lose it, baby. All right. That's how these things go. All right. That's just how the game is. That's just how the game is. So please tune into the rest of the shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got a huge slate of shows for you guys. Don't forget to sub to the channel. Scan that QR code right there. It'll subscribe you. We're trying to get to 800. We failed the 800 goal, guys. We're supposed to get to it by the end of the weekend. We still got a few hours, though. Still got 9 hours, 8.5 hours left to get to 800. So please, if you can, get them burners going. Let's get to 800 by the end of the weekend, all right? Don't forget to follow on social. One more round fights everywhere. I'm about to post our green checks shortly, okay? But don't forget to follow on social because that's where we put out the parlays. That's the only places you can see them. So please follow on social. And don't forget to follow both the channels. One more round fights, Main Card Minute. You can catch me on Main Card Minute. Put in belt to ass. Ask my opponents. Ask Bronstetter. Ask Jed Mishu. Ask Oscar Willis. Ask them all. Ask them all. Your boy came out on top. Your boy came out on top. Sponsors, hit me up. You're fucking up, man. You're fucking up. I'm not begging no more. Just hit me up, man. If I don't see you in the email, if I don't even have a fucking spam email from you, get the fuck out my face. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your fun day. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'll see you for Matchmaker Monday. Peace.
I live life how I wanna. Smoke out to marijuana. I live my life in these streets. We can smoke out the window. I'm on a trail. Maybe I'm a gunner. Cause I live in yonder. Hot box like a sauna. In a foreign or Americana. Let me grind my green. Roll up, put inside my weed. Toast one to the sky, but the highest thing go puffin' like my trees. Floating on an Nimbus cloud. Who's blessing? Yeah, I'm hitting loud. Blowing smoke like guns blazing. Blowing holes in the spanner when they I'm saying I live life how I wanna. Snort out to marijuana. I live my life in these streets. We can smoke out Smoke lots of marijuana. I live my life in these streets, licking smoke out the window. I'm on a trip. Maybe I'm a gunner, cause I live in a manana. Hot box like a sauna in the forest.